Yep, we got a quorum. Yep.
Thank you all. Welcome to the Thursday, July 13th of 2023 meeting of the Supplemental Retirement Board of Trustees Subcommittee. I'm State Treasurer Dale Falwell calling our meeting to order. As I call our meeting to order, I want to welcome Bob Shea as the newest member of our audit team. Bob has offered to fill the open position on the subcommittee that was created when Melinda Barron's board term expired this year. And as chair of the board, I appointed Bob to the audit subcommittee, and he has been so selected for that board and ratified. And we appreciate Bob's willingness to fill the big heels of Melinda Barron. So given that, there'll be a public comment section for any organization or individuals that wish to address the committee. Continuing with the Department of State Treasurer's initiative to increase governmental transparency, we've established a policy to record and video all of our official meetings, and this is one of those meetings, and this will be available and accessible to the public. We'll call the roll at the beginning of the meeting. If you must leave the meeting at any point, please announce your departure. If you return, please announce your return as well. Likewise, state your name before speaking. We'll take votes by roll call. And without objection, any vote by roll call will consider the person making the motion or the second to the motion be a yes for efficiency purposes. And finally, any text or other recorded communications between board members during the meeting, even on personal phones, are considered public record to the extent they concern the meeting. As a reminder, please mute your phones when you're not speaking. And with that, we appreciate all of your cooperation, and the secretary will now call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell.
Here.
Isabella Thomas.
Present.
Bob Shea.
Here.
Steve Beam. Steve Beam.
We have a quorum?
Yep.
Okay, great. With that, we'll go right into our meetings of our ethics awareness. Members, you've seen our agenda. I hope you've had an opportunity to review the agenda to determine if you have any conflicts or potential conflicts of interest. Do I hear any?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is
Hearing
Bob. I was just acknowledging that I didn't have any.
Oh, thank you so much. Hearing none, should a conflict arise during the meeting, please feel free to let me as the chair know that so we can deal with it accordingly. Our next item of business is our report from Thomas Ray, auditor's report and draft of the 2022 financial statements of the 401 and the 457 plan. He'll present the auditor's report and the financial statements for our 401 and 457. And after that, we will entertain a motion to approve the financial statements for the 401 and the 457. And Mr. Ray, you have too many Shays and Rays here today. So you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, this is Steve. I'm on. I had a problem connecting a minute ago.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Okay. Again, thanks, Mr. Chair, all the audit subcommittee members. Pleasure to be here today. Next slide kind of just briefly goes through what I plan to cover. Sorry, my agenda. I'll start with a criticism of my own PowerPoint deck. I always forget when I do this that not only are we contracted to do a financial statement audit for the 401k and the 457, but we also do kind of a separate project that is somewhat in alignment with the leverage off of that. It's a lot of employer testing around the state. So it's a rotation. We always do the largest employers in the state, and then we rotate through a lot of the smaller states. Jeff definitely got a report with the results, but I just wanted to remind everyone that in addition to the financial statements, which is really the primary objective today, that we did do that. There were some findings, definitely nothing that's material to the financial statement audits, but I will commend the trustees, the treasurer, in commissioning that work, because what that does is kind of keeps the employers on their toes. Garbage in, garbage out. Obviously, all the information coming from those employers to the record keeper is only as good as the integrity of that information. So Jeff has all the results of that, and probably some follow-up with some of those employers, et cetera. So with that, go over the financial highlights. So excellent. 401k, this is really your financial statements. Every governmental financial statement requires an MD&A. These are just snippets out of your MD&A. If you've had an opportunity to look through the financial statements, or if you haven't, there's a lot of excellent information in that MD&A. It's not audited, but it's required by the GASB. So this is really just a snapshot of your really net position or your balance sheet of the 401k plan. Obviously, you see a significant reduction, but primarily due to the next slide, you'll see that net investment loss in 2022 of $2 billion is really what's driving that reduction in net position for the 401k.
And just to be clear, unlike everything else we deal with, this plan's on a calendar year.
Yes, sir.
All right. So,
next slide is really similarly on the 457, albeit a smaller plan.
let me interrupt you because the drop in assets is a result of the market declines in 20.
Absolutely,
Okay,
sir.
good. All right, good.
Absolutely.
All right,
And you can see that on the previous slide. That drop in assets correlates primarily to that. This is a mature plan, so your contributions, your inflows, pretty much are net out your outflows, which is typical in outflows are outpacing it somewhat for a mature plan, and obviously a $2.2 billion drop with a $2.16 billion net loss for the calendar year. Yes.
We're going to report our pension plan fiscal year numbers into June 30th. That's why I just wanted for the board to have these two different.
Little probably different results.
Thank you.
457, again, just some highlights. So that fiduciary net position or balance sheet, again, similar reduction of about 300 million. But again, on the next slide, you'll see primarily driven by that investment loss. So really why we're here today is the results of the audit. I mentioned the financial statements, which include an MD&A. The only thing that's really that we UHY owns is our opinion. Everything else is management, and it's created by management. But the independent auditor's report is what we own. Resulted in an unmodified, what used to be an unqualified, but either way, a clean audit opinion. I mentioned that MD&A, that there are limited procedures. We read through it, make sure there's nothing that's contradictory to the actual financial statements or footnotes, but there's no opinion rendered on that. Because it's a governmental audit, we are required to report on internal controls, and we do internal control testing. Happy to note that there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified as part of our audit. And then there's always a letter to the trustees, the audit subcommittee. It's under SAS 114, audit standard 114. It's just required communications to those charged with governance. That's memorialized in a letter, but I will go over some of the bigger items that I'm required to communicate because I have a subcommittee here today. So next slide. So that letter basically outlines our responsibility under U.S. generally accepted audit standards. If there was any new significant accounting policies, new GASB standards, those would be denoted in that letter, but there were none this year. So the financial statements generally look exactly like they have in the past. The only real significant judgment or accounting estimate is that stable value crediting rate that's reset quarterly on an actuarial basis. Next slide. Management was very cooperative and professional during the audit process. We had no disagreements with management. We're not aware, nor did that management consulted with any other accountants on the application of generally accepted accounting policies or audit standards. No major issues were discussed prior to our retention. At the conclusion of every audit, which I believe we received, so I know the treasurer mentioned it's in draft until it's ratified today, but at the conclusion of every audit, management signs a representation letter, and that also then becomes part of that governance letter. So the governance gets to see the representations made by management. And we received that this morning. So we are ready, assuming that the board ratifies the financial statements today, to issue and date it today. So with that, I believe that kind of wraps it up, short and sweet. Open it up to any questions about the financial statements, the audit process, or anything that we do.
Any questions?
No questions for me.
Any questions from any
Nope.
other board member?
None.
Nope.
I would like to point out to the board members, Tom had mentioned that there were a handful of findings. As he mentioned, we are in receipt of that report, and we are working through Empower with those employers to rectify any deficiencies that would have impacted a plan participant, so we can get that corrected. So just want to make sure you guys were aware that we are currently in the process of working through that and getting any of the shortfalls corrected.
May I ask,
And just
how many employers were affected by this?
So there were 6 employers that where we recognized an error, and that fell in the category of the employee calculation of their contribution or the employer contribution calculation.
And this is Thomas Ray again. I'll point out, as I said, all of those issues are immaterial to the financial statements. However, I will commend the committee, the treasurer, for commissioning it, because I work with large DB plans and state DC plans all over the country, and not very often does a board commission us to do a deeper dive into the comprehensiveness of that information that's coming in from all the employers. So, it's kind of a testament to the fiduciary responsibilities that these trustees are invoking. So again, that's not always part of a standard financial statement audit process. So it did result in some findings, cleanup, good lessons learned, primarily for the employers, the issues at the employer level.
Okay. Anything else? Anything from legal? Okay. With that, do I have a motion to approve the 2022 calendar year financial statements for the North Carolina 401 and 457 plans?
So move.
Seconded?
Second.
Thank you. A motion, a second being made. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell
Aye.
and Steve Bain.
Aye.
All right. Did anybody sign up for public comment? Okay. I want to thank Patty and the rest of the staff here for making this jump up on the table. Hearing that no one has signed up for public comment, I hereby deem public comment section to be closed. Is there any other subcommittee comments, member comments that would like to come before us?
This is Bob Shea. I just wish all of my meetings in higher ed could be this efficient.
Maybe one day they will be. Thank you, Bob. We pay by the minute, Bob. I don't know if they told you that when they
Okay.
onboarded. I love Chevelle's laugh. I love that. Our next board meeting is August. Why is it so? Oh, Board of Trustees meeting, excuse me, not the subcommittee meeting. August 24th is our SERP trustee meeting. Hearing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Motion by Steve, second by Chevelle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell,
Aye.
Bob Shea.
Aye.
And Bob, we're trying to do this in 15 minutes. If we didn't start till 11:02, we're in the order here. So we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Aye.